Myles Garrett was traded today. What does this have to do with strategic leadership? I think actually a lot. Myles Garrett was traded today. What does this have to do with strategic leadership? I think actually a lot. So I'm creating this at the last minute, and this is stream of consciousness. This is top of my head. I have not written out a script, but I have been thinking about this ever since the announcement was made today. And I think there are significant lessons to be learned from organizations relative to this. I'm going to posit a theory that I have no inside information on. It's just a theory based on years of experience, and I'm making a connection to what I have seen in the corporate world, and I'm relating it to the Myles story. So let's talk about it. Myles Garrett was traded, and we get a bunch of draft picks. We get a young 25-year-old defensive end from Los Angeles Rams, and Myles gets to go off to Los Angeles, where I think he wanted to be in the first place. And everyone's reacting with emotions. I mean, after all, I totally understand this. Myles Garrett is a generational talent in defense, probably the best defensive player in the history of the Cleveland Browns, maybe even of football in that position. Of certainly, he's on the cusp of breaking record after record after record. For Browns fans, he's the only thing we've had to cheer about for years. He was the source of pride for this city. When Joe Burrow would line up against him, and we could see Joe Burrow sitting there crying in his helmet because he's across the line from Myles Garrett, it made every Cleveland Brown fan happy. And Cleveland Brown fans, we don't get a chance to be happy all that often. So people are upset. They're saying that the leadership doesn't know what they're doing. You don't know what you're losing. You're losing all kinds of potential. You're losing all kinds of production, and nobody thinks we got value back. And no one understands right now. Based on the media, I'm hearing people are like, I don't understand why this trade was made. This was stupid. It'd be different if we got a starting quarterback. It'd be different if we got multiple first-round picks next year. All these things. Now, if you're not a sports fan, this is where it's going to start making more sense to you. This is a situation where an organization parted ways with a top producer and didn't seem to get as much back as they should have. And I'm going to share a theory that I have, because with companies I've worked with before, we've been in similar situations where we've had to part ways with a top producer because the math was done. And we started to realize that the external production or the sales productivity or the whatever that this producer was producing didn't offset the damage that was being done internally in the organization. And efforts had been made, and we couldn't salvage this top producer. So we parted ways with that top producer to protect the organization. Now, some people that haven't been involved in organizations like this might not understand that, but let me put this in what I think could be happening and might have been the reasoning behind the Myles Garrett trade with the Cleveland Browns. Garrett has made his intentions known. He's not been a team player for the Browns for some time. A couple years ago, he made the rounds at Radio Row for the Super Bowl, basically telling everyone, I want out, I want out, I want out. And it wasn't until they backed up semi-trucks full of cash to Myles Garrett's house that Myles all of a sudden decided, hey, yeah, I'm a Cleveland Brown. And we just hired a new head coach who is trying to change the culture in Cleveland. All the reports I'm hearing about Todd Monken is there is a 180-degree change in the culture in the clubhouse at the practice facility from Kevin Stefanski. And yet Myles has not even met Todd Monken, has not made an effort to meet with his new head coach. And Myles was in town for a Cavs game and didn't make the stop in Berea to see Todd Monken and say, hey, Todd, nice to meet you. I'm Myles Garrett. I'm going to be smacking a bunch of quarterbacks for the Browns this year. He never did that. And the media was worried about it, but a bunch of people say, well, it was, none of these things were required. He's not required to be a leader. He's not required to go to these OTAs, off-season training activities. For those of you that aren't familiar with the jingo, there was a bunch of volunteer stuff that Myles Garrett didn't go to, hadn't gone to, and people were making a deal out of it, and other people were saying it was no big deal because this is Myles being Myles. But the smoke was there. The smoke was there because people were worried that Myles was all about Myles. So I wonder if Todd Monken wasn't ticked off just enough to say, "Hey, look, I'm trying to change the culture of this organization. I'm trying to turn this organization that was 5 and 12 last year into a winning team." And that starts with the culture. It starts with players backing players. It starts with me establishing myself as the new head coach with a system, with respect, with direction, and I need my star players to act like star players, but I need them to act like star teammates first. And that's never been Miles. So I wonder if Tom Monken had conversations with the Haslam's, with the GM, and said, look, we may lose a generational talent. We may lose 5 or 6 sacks a season because we could probably replace Miles with someone that could give us 5 or 6 sacks less than Miles did, but maybe the impact on that locker room would be such that the team comes together more tightly, more purposefully, has more camaraderie, is on the same page, and is ready to pull together. I heard a story the other day about LeBron James. And of course, there's all kinds of speculation about whether LeBron will come back to Cleveland after the Cavaliers' historic collapse in the playoffs. And someone was sharing a story about how LeBron is LeBron. And I think that in this case, LeBron is completely different than Miles, because this story was when LeBron comes into an organization, he is interested in the team being a team. He will take the team out to dinner. He says, let's go out to dinner. Let's get to know each other. Let's hang out. Miles never hung out with anyone at the Browns. He didn't really establish those relationships. He's been off doing his own thing in Japan for a long time, whatever. I don't begrudge him that. That's fine. But as an organization, you may be faced with people who are like that, who are more about themselves than the organization. And you have to be careful of the risk where that top producer is producing so much that you fear that you cannot compel them to be part of the team for fear that they lose that production. You fear as a leader saying, hey, great production. Thank you. Let's be part of the team. And can you share some of your expertise? Can you help these people that are up and coming? Can you help the new people that are joining the company? I've seen this. I've seen top producers say, no, go pound salt. I got mine. I'm giving you yours. That's what you hired me for. I'm not doing anything else. And people notice that. The other people on the team notice that. And they start wondering, why should I put my effort into doing anything other than taking care of me too? And that becomes a cancer. So I think the Myles Garrett situation can be a powerful lesson for business out there. I think the Browns may have done this because it was the best thing for the Browns. And ultimately, it was probably the best thing for Myles Garrett too. All right, let's go.